Just a heads up guys, I had to re-upload this guide because my good friend Evil Twigster pointed out to me that there was a bit of information that I needed to fix on this guide, so huge shout out to Evil Twigster for helping me make this guide as accurate as possible. Anyways, with that, let's go ahead and get right into the guide. Hey, what is up guys? Welcome to my Old School Runescape Nightmare Zone Points Guide. This has been a pretty highly requested guide as of late, and today I will show you guys my method on how I get over 1 million Nightmare Zone points per hour. This guide is not going to show you the best way to get XP from Nightmare Zone, but if you do want a guide on that, there is a link down below in the description. But with that, let's get right into it. So first of all, Nightmare Zone is a minigame that is located just north of Yanil, and in this minigame you fight quest boss monsters that you have unlocked by completing quests. Now there are going to be certain bosses you want to have unlocked, and certain bosses you really want to try and avoid, so later on in this guide I'll be going over the entire quest list of the different monsters you can unlock, and tell you which ones you should try and avoid. For this guide, you'll be doing your own hard rumble. Basically, in Nightmare Zone, there are different game modes, but for this guide in particular, you're going to do your own hard rumble without a booster. When you're going for XP, you use a booster account to make sure you can only fight certain monsters. But with this guide, you're going to do your own hard rumble, so you have access to all of your quest monsters. Now, the only real requirements for this guide are that you have completed at least 5 quests out of the list I'm going over in just a little bit, and you also need 6,000 coins for your own hard rumble, so there is a little bit of cost, but it's pretty negligible. Obviously, 6k coins isn't very much. Now, I recommend you have at least 70 plus in all your melee stats for full DH, as DH with absorption potions is by far the most effective method, and even if you're not going to use full DH, the higher melee stats you have, the more points per hour naturally, so try and have pretty decent melee stats. And also, I recommend you try and get some starting points. Now, what I mean by that is, you're going to be using absorption potions and overloads for this guide, and to do that, you need to buy them with Nightmare Zone points. So if you don't have any points whatsoever, click on the link down below in the description. That'll give you a guide on how to basically do an easy run of Nightmare Zone to build at least a little bit of points before you follow this guide. Now, with that being said, let's go over some different aspects of Nightmare Zone, such as the power-ups and what absorptions and overloads do. An overload is a potion that can be purchased with Nightmare Zone points and can only be used in the Nightmare Zone minigame. One dose of the potion costs 1500 reward points, and it is basically a super combat potion that does not go down. So to give you an example, when I drink a super combat potion, my attack, strength, and defense are all boosted to 118. Now over time, these stats will go down. However, an overload will give you 5 minutes of that boost and it will never go down. So for 5 minutes straight after you drink a dose of overload, you will have your maximum boosted stats and they will not go down. Absorptions are yet another potion you can purchase with Nightmare Zone points and can only be used inside the minigame, and each dose costs 1000 reward points. Now every time you drink a dose of this potion, you are going to stack up 50 absorption damage. So basically what that means is, for every dose, you can take up to 50 damage and it will all be absorbed. Now you can stack this up all the way to 1000 damage, and this is going to be very, very important for this guide, as you're going to be fighting a lot of monsters that are not going to be using the same combat style. So even if you were to pray against a monster, you would still probably be taking damage from something else using a different style. So absorption potions are very, very important for this guide. Alright guys, so now I want to talk about why using absorption potions is literally so perfect for the DH method, as well as how to keep your health low while using DH. Because as you guys know, the set effect of Darox is that the lower health you are, the more damage you do. So naturally, you want to stay as low health as possible at all times. Alright, so the way you keep your health low at all times is by having rapid heal on your quick prayers. Now the reason you want to do this is because once you are low HP and you have drank an absorption potion, you can no longer use a Dwarven Rock Cake to make sure your health stays low. So the way you get around this is by flicking on rapid heal once every minute. And what that does is it resets the timer of your auto heal. Now naturally in RuneScape you will heal yourself 1 hit point around every minute. But if you flick rapid heal on, it will reset the timer, and you will actually not heal any hit points. So it's very, very easy to get around you gaining hit points. Just make sure on your quick prayers you have rapid heal set. Now as far as why absorption potions are actually so perfect for this minigame, I'm going to show you guys right now. So what I'm going to do is eat my Dwarven Rock Cake to get down to 51 hit points. Again, you want to keep your health as low as possible at all times. So by doing this, I'm going to get down to 51 hit points, and then after that, I will drink a dose of overload, and that will reduce me another 50 hit points to take me to a perfect 1 hit point. So now that I'm at 51, I'm going to go ahead and start my dream, so let me dream with this guy really quickly, get everything set up, and I'll go over this in just a little bit of how to actually do this, but this is kind of just a quick example, so I'm going to drink from the potion, get started on my run. Now once again, like I mentioned, I am 51 hit points, and this overload potion is going to bring me all the way down 50 more. So we can hit 5 10s, and then after that, I'll be sitting at 2 hit points. Now, once I have 2 hit points, I'm going to drink an absorption potion, and I'll show you guys why this is so important in just a second here. So as you can see right now, I can absorb up to 200 damage. So when things start attacking me, you might be thinking, okay, I don't know where you're going with this. Well, actually, believe it or not, absorption potions will absorb whatever your max damage you could possibly take at that time is. So because I'm using DH and my health is so low all the time, the max amount of absorption potion that can be removed per hit is 2, because my hit points is 2. So normally if a boss monster hit you, say, a 40 and you had over 40 hit points, you would lose 40 points of absorption potion. But because I'm only 2 hit points, it will only remove 2 hit points from my absorption instead. If you understand my meaning, I hope I explained that well, guys. But basically, just so you know, if you can use full DH, definitely use it, because absorption potions are literally so perfect for this method. As you can see, guys, if you watch right here, it is going down by only in increments of 2, so absorption potions are very, very important for this guide, and hopefully the rapid heal thing showed you guys how to keep your health low. Just flick that on every once in a while, and your health will not go back up whatsoever. Once your overload runs out, though, you will gain 50 more health, but overloads hit through absorption, so once you drink your overload, it'll bring you back down 50, so just follow those quick tips, guys, and you will always be low HP when using full DH in Nightmare Zone. Alright, so now let's talk about the 4 different power-ups you will see in Nightmare Zone. These power-ups will spawn randomly throughout the game, and they each have their own color, so they're very distinguishable. First of all, recurrent damage is the red power-up, and this one deals extra damage every time you hit. So these extra hits do not give you extra XP, but your second hit will always be 75% of your original hit, so this is a fantastic power-up. Make sure you guys are picking this one up. The second power-up is known as the Zapper. This one is purple, and it will do extra damage to nearby monsters, but it won't hit monsters that are immune, such as the Dagonoth Mother. The Dagonoth Mother has to be damaged with a very specific combat style, so certain monsters will not be affected by the Zapper, but again, this is a good one, so make sure you pick up the Zapper. The third power-up is known as the Power Surge, and this one is yellow. Make sure you guys get this one. This is very, very fun. It gives you unlimited special attack for about a minute, so not only is it good for getting faster kills, but it's also very, very fun. And lastly, the white power-up is known as Ultimate Force, and what this one does is it wipes out all 4 monsters that you are currently fighting. Now this sounds like a great idea, except for the fact that you don't gain any points from these monsters when they are wiped out through the power-up. So it actually is kind of counterproductive because you're not gaining any points. However, there are very specific situations where you do want to use Ultimate Force. Now a good example of this is that if you have annoying monsters such as the Dagonoth Mother on the floor, you can go ahead and use Ultimate Force if you get one. That way you save yourself some time and don't have to kill these slow monsters. So all in all, guys, you really always should grab Recurrent Damage, Zapper, and Power Surge, but only grab Ultimate Force if you have a very specific situation where there are a lot of slow killing monsters on the floor, and you can just get rid of them that way. Well, now that you know a little bit about Nightmare Zone, let's go ahead and get into the quest list. There's a very, very large quest list, but it's pretty important to the guide, so let's go ahead and take a look at the quest list. Alright guys, if you take a look on screen right now, you can see a very large list of quests, and all of these quests will have an impact on your Nightmare Zone floors, as they all unlock new bosses to fight. Now, if you're trying to set your account up for optimal Nightmare Zone runs, there are definitely going to be some quests you're going to want to complete, and some quests you're going to want to avoid. So basically what I'm going to do right now is go through every single one of these quests, tell you what boss it unlocks, tell you what items you would need if you have completed the quest, and whether or not you should try and avoid it. By the way guys, there will be a link to this spreadsheet down below in the description if you want to check it out later on for future reference. But with that being said, as you can see, the left-hand column I have all the quests. The column after that, I have whether or not it is a good or a bad quest. The column after that, I have the items you would need if you have completed that quest. And then lastly, I have all the points you would get from killing the monster. Our first bad quest is Dragon Slayer. Through Dragon Slayer, you unlock Elvarg. And Elvarg is bad because when it first spawns, if you are not wearing an anti-dragon shield, it will drain your stats pretty considerably. Now, because we are using overloads, it's actually not that big of a deal. Your stats will go back up fairly quickly, but it is kind of a pain in the ass. But then again, if you're doing Nightmare Zone, I really would anticipate that you have Dragon Slayer completed, so not that big of a deal, but it's not exactly a great quest. By completing one small favor, you will unlock the monster Slaglith, and Slaglith requires a pickaxe to kill. However, there will be a pickaxe provided to you on the ground in Nightmare Zone, so don't worry about bringing your own, but you will need a pickaxe. So the next bad quest is Horror from the Deep, and Horror from the Deep is an absolutely awful quest. Through Horror from the Deep, you unlock the Dagonoth Mother. Now, the Dagonoth Mother uses fire, water, air, earth, magic, and range styles, and when it is using those special styles, you can only damage it with that specific kind of combat. So basically, it's a really big pain in the ass because when you're doing this method, you want to just farm monsters as fast as you possibly can, but then the Horror from the Deep boss comes out, and then you have to either wait for it to change back to melee, or slow yourself down quite a bit by trying to mage it. So overall, Horror from the Deep is a terrible quest to complete, so try and avoid that one if you can. For Fairy Tale Part 1, you will need magic secateurs to kill it. However, they will be provided to you once again in the arena, so don't worry about bringing your own. Our next bad quest is Recipe for Disaster. Now, Recipe for Disaster is, again, another really good quest to complete as far as the game goes, but when it comes to Nightmare Zone, it is an absolutely awful quest to complete, simply because it gives you another version of the Horror from the Deep boss, and it gives you another version of all the Desert Treasure bosses, which is a bad quest in and of itself. So RFD, overall, it's a terrible quest to complete, and you really should try and put this one off if you possibly can. If you do have it completed, though, make sure you bring a pair of ice gloves, as Flame Bead will remove your weapon when you attack him if you don't have them on, so definitely bring a pair of ice gloves if you have RFD completed. For Family Crest, you will need to weaken Chronozone with one of each of the blast spells, so if you have completed the Family Crest quest, you definitely need to make sure that you are on the standard spellbook before you go into Nightmare Zone, but other than that, it's a pretty good boss. So now onto Desert Treasure. This is one of the main reasons I am re-uploading this guide, is because previously I had Desert Treasure listed as a bad quest, because the monsters you unlock from it are very, very annoying to kill. However, I now have it listed as a key quest, because if you want to get full points from this minigame, you need to have this quest completed. Evil Twixter told me that if you do not have Desert Treasure completed, you will not gain full points from all the other monsters you will fight in Nightmare Zone, so it is very important to have this quest completed. You can test this out by doing a Nightmare Zone run on an account that doesn't have Desert Treasure completed and then comparing it with the points per hour that I am getting, and you will definitely tell the difference. So despite the fact that the Desert Treasure monsters are very, very annoying to kill, this is a very, very important quest to have completed to get full points per hour. So the last one I want to touch on is Dream Mentor. Dream Mentor is by far the best quest to have completed for Nightmare Zone, and I really would honestly call it necessary if you want to get a lot of points per hour. So basically, through Dream Mentor, you unlock 3 separate monsters. Now if you look at my point range, it is 28 to 75k. There are 3 separate ones. The lowest one will give you 28k, and the highest one will give you 75k points in one kill. So completing Dream Mentor is extremely important, as you can get that one monster, it's called the Inadequacy. It gives you 75k points, and you can kill it in about 30 seconds, so Dream Mentor is extremely important for getting a lot of points per hour, so definitely try and have that completed. But overall, guys, that's a brief overview of kind of the highlights and the bad quests, I suppose, on this quest list. Again, there will be a link down below if you want to study this a bit more yourself. And with that, I am now going to go over the gear setup and inventory for Nightmare Zone. Alright, so one thing I want to go over really quickly before I get into the gear setups is the concept of using monsters to block other monsters. In a hard rumble, you will always be fighting 4 monsters at a time. Now, some of these boss monsters are going to be pretty big compared to other ones, so if you're fighting a very, very large monster, you can run around to the opposite side of it, and that way you only have to tank that one because the other 3 monsters will get stuck behind it. It's a very, very good way to make your absorption potions last longer. If you're tanking all 4 monsters all the time, you're going to take a ton of damage, you're not going to last very long, so it's very, very important to understand the idea of using a bigger monster to run around and get the rest stuck. So another important tip to help make your absorptions last longer is what order you kill things in. Now, I'm not going to give you a list of like, kill this guy before this guy, like, I can't give you an exact list, but what I can tell you is that you always need to kill the thing that is doing the most damage to you first. Ignore how many points they give, always kill the thing that is doing the most damage to you straight away. So say, for example, the Inadequacy and 2 of the Desert Treasure bosses are on the floor. You might want to kill the Inadequacy straight away because it gives a lot of points, but in all reality, you should kill the Desert Treasure bosses right away because they do a lot of damage to you, so always prioritize things that are damaging you over things that give a lot of points, and that'll definitely help your absorption potions last a lot longer. Alright, so really quick guys, I want to show you how to start a Nightmare Zone game in case you're unaware. So right now, I am at Nightmare Zone just north of Yanil Bank, and what you need to do is bring 6,000 coins and deposit it in Dominic's coffer. So click on here, click on deposit money, 6k, and then after that, then you can start your dream. So basically, right-click on Dominic, click on Dream, select Rumble, then Hard Rumble, click Yes, and then you are ready to go. So once you have done that, just run up here, drink from this potion, click Accept, and then you'll be taken into the game, and then you got a few seconds to collect your stuff. And also, if you want to know how to buy absorption potions and overloads, you search the reward chest right here, then you go to the benefits tab, then you can buy X amount of doses of overloads and absorptions, you buy them with points, then you run over here to these barrels, you right click on them, and then you can take X amount of potion doses that you want. Alright, so now that you guys know a lot about Nightmare Zone, let's go ahead and go over our gear setup. What I have on right now is the optimal gear setup for this guide. I have on full DH, a Fury, Dragon Boots, Barrow's Gloves, a Fire Cape, a Berserker Ring. Now again guys, like I said, using full DH with Absorption Potions is extremely effective, not only because you take very little Absorption Potion damage at a time, but also because with low HP DHing, you're just doing ridiculous damage every time you hit, so overall the points per hour is just way higher with full DH, so definitely try and use this setup if you can. Now in my inventory, I have a Dragonfire Shield, a Whip, Ice Gloves, a Granite Maul, 3 Overloads, 3 Prayer Potions, 10 Absorptions, and a Rock Cake. Now the DFS in the Whip is for Elvarg. If you don't have a DFS, don't worry about it. You can always pick up an anti-dragon shield inside the Nightmare Zone floor itself. But if you have one, you should bring it, of course. But you do need to bring a one-handed weapon, such as a Whip or a D-Skim. That way you can kill Elvarg and equip your shield. I have Ice Gloves because I have completed the Recipe for Disaster and Desert Treasure quests. If you have not completed those two, you will not need Ice Gloves. And then I also have a Granite Maul for the Power Surges. You could use like a DDS or a D2H or something like that, but I choose to use a G-Maul, it's pretty fun. And then I have 2 open slots right here, one is for the Pickaxe and one is for the Magic Secateurs. Now the Pickaxe is required if you have completed One Small Favor, and the Secateurs are required if you have completed Fairy Tail Part 1, and both of those items can be picked up inside the minigame. Then I have 3 Overloads, 3 Prayer Potions, 10 Absorptions, and a Dwarven Rock Cake. Now, Dwarven Rock Cake is pretty important for this method. You can also lower your HP by using Zamorak Brews if you need to, but overall, like I showed you guys earlier in the guide, a Dwarven Rock Cake is pretty useful before you go in, that way you can lower your health. And the last 5 open slots are because I have completed Family Crest. If you have completed Family Crest, you'll need to kill Chronozone. Now, Chronozone requires you to cast one of each of the blast spells on him, and inside Nightmare Zone, you can pick up any kind of rune you want to pick up. So what you have to do is just go in and pick up all the elemental runes and death runes, and then you can kill Chronozone, so that's why I have 5 open slots on the bottom. With that, guys, though, this is the best possible setup you can use for this guide. However, if you don't have full DH, I will show you guys one more good setup. Alright guys, here's a good alternative setup if you do not have full DH. I currently have on a Helm of Need is Not, Amulet of Glory, DH Plate, Verax Skirt, Dragon Boots, Barrow's Gloves, a Whip, a Fire Cape, and a Defender. Now because I can use DH, I want to maximize my attack and strength bonuses while still having fairly good defense. So by using a Whip and a Defender, your attack and strength are pretty high, but you also have great defenses and prayer bonus from the Verax Skirt and the DH Plate body. So overall guys, if you can use DH, make sure you have a pretty good defensive setup that also still has fairly high attack, so a setup like this is perfect. If you look at my inventory, I have an anti-dragon shield, a Granite Maul, Ice Gloves, 2 open slots for the Magic Secateurs and the Rune Pickaxe, and then I have 3 Overloads, 4 Prayer Potions, Absorptions, and a Dwarven Rock Cake. Now, you might be thinking, why do I have a Dwarven Rock Cake if I'm not using DH? Well, as I mentioned early on in the guide, you can lower your hit points all the way down, and then, like, say for example, if you're 2 hit points, you can only lose 2 hit points of absorption at a time. So despite the fact that you're not using absorptions, you can still use the Dwarven Rock Cake method to only lose a very small amount of absorptions at a time, even with this method without DH. So make sure you guys are lowering your health, even if you're not using DH like this. With that, guys, there is 2 great gear setups that you can choose from for this guide. And with that, I believe it's time to get into an actual Nightmare Zone run. With that, guys, though, that's pretty much all the information I can possibly give you for this guide. I hope it has helped you out. What I'm going to do now is do a full run of this. I'm going to speed it up like crazy so you guys can watch, I guess, in this video if you want to. I'm going to play a little music. If you don't like it, you can mute it and play your own. But with that, guys, hope this guide has helped you this far. I'm going to do a run now, and then I'll be back for the outro.
After all
Alright guys, I just hit the half an hour mark on my recording, so as you can see right there, 670k points in half an hour. So if you thought I was BSing earlier about getting over 1,000,000 points an hour, there's your proof right there. Half an hour recording, I'll probably speed that up like a ton so it's not that long, but yeah, 670k points in half an hour. So that is going to be it for this guide. I hope this guide did help you guys out. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and feel free to leave a like if the guide did help you. We do appreciate it, guys, and take it easy.